A warehouse on fire with 450,000 pounds of batteries inside. It kept firefighters on scene for 28 days. I spoke to the local fire chief involved in the incident. I'm here with Chief Steffes with the Morris Fire Protection District in Morris, Illinois. Back in 2021, you guys had a fairly large fire involving a recycling center around, I guess, lithium-ion batteries or just batteries in general.
It was bad. It actually wasn't a recycling center. It was a more or less a storage unit, cold storage unit that the property owner had purchased roughly 2 years prior to that. I'm not for sure when the batteries had been moved in because there's no business license. The building, the last we knew, had been abandoned. Still had growth trees around it, and the grass was overgrown. So none of the utilities were connected. No water, no electricity, no gas. Sprinkler system, even if it had water, wouldn't have been functional. It was an old storage building that belonged to the Federal Paper Board, which closed around the early 80s.
Okay. And at what point, I assume it didn't have a functioning alarm system.
Had nothing.
So at what point did you find out there was even a fire there?
Actually, the fire chief I replaced that retired from here, he was just on that side of town driving through. He noticed smoke coming out of the building, called in. It was the only call we had on it.
Okay.
And it's right across the street from a residential area. In fact, it's 3 sides of the property.
This video is sponsored by BlazeStack Fire Investigation Software. BlazeStack is a fully featured fire investigation case management platform that arson and fire investigators rely on to log, document, and report fire investigations. Get a free trial at blazestack.com and request a quote using the discount code STASHED. So was it pretty well involved by the time you got there, or was it just kind of...
Well, it was, no, I don't know if I'd say it was well involved. So we got the call pretty close to noon, right before noon. And we had a normal structure fire response to it. And so they were there in probably around 4 minutes and reported light smoke coming from the building. No, it's a decent sized building.
I think I saw like 60,000 square feet.
Yeah, right around that neighborhood. It's just metal exterior. Steel superstructure, trusses, and then metal exterior. And but like I said, trying to find the actual doorway to the place was a problem because the overgrowth of the trees, we actually thought nobody was using the building.
Right.
But yeah, so we arrived, had just a light, lazy smoke emitting from the building. But it was that color of smoke that you can tell that the structure wasn't involved. It wasn't that black smoke. I mean, you could tell that it was a contents fire, and whatever was burning inside was not normal room contents. So as we progressed through it, we let normal lead out commercial fire, stretching the back leader line, and then probably, I'm going to say 5 to 7 minutes on the scene, I had a gentleman come up to my vehicle, knocked on the window, like every chief at the scene, so they're always knocking on your window.
Right.
And he says, "Hey, I want to let you know that building has a lot of lithium batteries in it." And I says, "How do you know that?" He says, "Well, I work here." Well, needless to say, before he walked away, he says, "You know what? There's probably more like 100,000 pounds in there." And so the guys went in with a line and decided they were going to get busy with it. And then when we found out about the batteries, I pulled everybody out because you're always taught the water and lithium batteries don't mix. Knowing what I know today, I'd have no problem high flow water and a lithium-ion battery fire today. But we backed out, and at the time, our notice went out that we had this fire. We had some people from the Illinois EPA and then the US EPA pretty quick because they were in the neighborhood.
Right.
So when they arrived, we were told prior to them arriving, keep the water off of it. Obviously no foam, stuff like that. So the police did a phenomenal job. They evacuated that side of town. We ended up, when it was all over, just under 3,000 people we moved. They got it done in a matter of a couple hours.
So you get there at noon.
Mm-hmm.
And how long were you on scene?
So we kept a company there for 28 days.
Okay. How long before the fire we caught under control?
So what we did is John Stratton was the chief of the Plainfield Fire District at the time, and we got discussing about using cement.
Okay.
And so obviously cement that you see in a ready-mix truck has water in it.
Right.
But I'm talking powder cement, Portland cement, which is a product to make ready-mix.
Right.
It's like cinnamon, has 0 moisture content. And so we dumped 28 tons of Portland cement on top of them batteries.
Okay.
And
The dry powder.
dry powder.
All right.
So it's a thing that's good is next county over from us, they have Portland cement, and so they brought it over and had a 4-inch rubber hose that you push it with about 15 or 20 pound psi pressure, because they can push it vertically into a cement silo in a ready mix plant.
Okay.
With 20 pounds, 100 foot. So we lashed this rubber hose to the end of a track hoe and stuck the track hoe in there, and we covered the whole building, and we covered it in probably 3 hours.
Okay.
And the next morning, the off-gassing, the area raise, everything went down. We could see the thermal runaway was still happening under the Portland cement, because you could actually see the movement under the cement.
I'm sure.
And then when that battery would really get to its venting phase, it would vent through the Portland cement. But as soon as it vented and consumed whatever properties it needed to in the battery, it would collapse back on itself.
Okay.
And it would cover itself. So what it did is it didn't stop the thermal runaway, but we were able to control it.
Yeah.
And controlling it by not allowing it to just run, wide open throttle with no control, where that's how we were able to get people back in their homes. We were able to say, yes, we know we're going to be here for the long haul, but the fire, we're running the fire now. It's not running us.
Yeah. So 3,000 people displaced, 3 days. Where'd they go?
We had the Red Cross open some shelters,
Okay.
churches and stuff we would normally open that already pre-planned.
Yeah.
After the first night, we never had any. We had people go to the one church south of town the first night. They closed it after day 2 because no one came.
Oh, okay.
People found places to go. They either had a hotel room, went to family.
Okay.
So one thing that the city did is they worked with a local group that did some grant funding.
Okay.
And so everybody that was in the affected area got a gift card, and then the city gave them a deduction on their water bill. And I know that don't cover their expenses.
Right. At least it's something.
But it gave them something. And I wish I could remember what the gift cards were. I'm going to say it's $250 to $500.
Okay.
And like I said, it don't cover everything, but it gave people something. And we were just coming out of COVID.
Right.
So we have told people, you can't leave your house. You can't leave your house. Stay at home. And then the next thing we do, we kick them out of their house.
Right.
And say you can't go back.
Right.
And so that was challenging. It was stressful. People were stressed at the time. Another thing I will say is working with your local agencies, church groups, the health department, and we have a place called, or a group called COAD here.
Okay.
And so when we typed up letters of moving back home, what you could do. So they typed up, and we shared it through social media and stuff to say, hey, here's questions. When I get home, can I dog go in the yard? Can I eat my garden vegetables that I'm growing?
Okay.
Do I need to wash my house? So work with them groups and let them people get involved to take care of that stuff for you, because it takes a ton off of your plate. Like we went out and inducted dish soap through our inductors and washed the playground equipment in the area.
Okay.
For 2 reasons. We were told that would take care of whatever residue. Number 1, and then number 2, we wanted people to get back to normalcy. Take your kid to the park, let them play. It was start of summer. We didn't want people to ruin their whole summer,
right,
because of this battery emergency. So
right.
And so after 28 days, we knew we were at a point to where, with us leaving, that the thermal runaway process that was going to continue was not going to be a threat to the public. It was in an area that we had cordoned off with fencing, and it could be monitored by the US EPA at the time. In fact, they hired a contractor that stayed on site 24/7 that monitored the site and kept track of the air quality. And if something would have got out of hand, we would have went back over You know, the fire. I've always, and I've been an advocate since I've had this fire. You know, the fire service. I always say we're a group of doers. You know, we do things. We show up and we fix your problems.
Right.
Might not fix it the most economical way at the moment, but we'll fix the problem. And we just have not in the fire service been given the resources, and we're just starting now to get some of the education and knowledge of understanding these batteries and,
Right.
and how they react, because it's totally different than what we're all taught. You know, we're all taught, you know, usually you can, you know, you take these batteries, you get rid of the oxygen, you get rid of this, it stops it, but it don't happen. That's a chemical reaction that happens without oxygen that
Right.
that stops and restarts and stops and restarts. And it might stop for 3 days. It might stop for 3 weeks, and something happens and that battery goes back in the thermal runaway. And
And the other part about it is you've got these boxes full of batteries. They're on fire. The battery cells can launch off like little rockets and
Starts fire-
start pile fires elsewhere in the building.
and that's what happened in our case is we had you know, you had this pile here that got affected, but it launched a battery, you know, 25 foot over there and then started that.
Right.
And so that's why I had so much going on in that building in different areas. In fact, if you looked at it, you think someone lit the place on fire.
Right.
Because you had all these points of origin. They were caused from them batteries. In fact, during, probably, I would say 5 or 6 hours into the incident, them little button batteries, there was, I mean, hundreds of thousands of them in there. And it was like, it was gunfire inside the building, nonstop for a few hours. You think someone had an automatic rifle in there, and they were bouncing against the metal building, and which it worked out. It kept them contained in the building, but I know that started other spots inside the building.
Yeah, definitely.
This was a first, and
Right.
and I know that, you know, everybody says, well, you got to be a big town to have it. We're not a big town. Fire district's 22,000 people. We protect 140 square miles, which a large portion of it rural. Town's about 15,000. The rural area is about 7. So we're not a big department. So you don't have to have a big department to have big problems.
No, not at all.
You know, and there's a lot of people think that. Well, that's just, you know, and I actually think the opposite sometimes with these lithium fires, because I do think that there's companies that are fly-by-night companies that don't follow the rules. You know, they'll pick up these recycled batteries and get paid to dispose of them, and they'll go dump them in an empty building somewhere, or just.
And that was my understanding of this building here is this guy was taking in batteries. He was charging people to take these batteries and more or less hoarding them.
He was, and he had them in many different states of condition, where some of them were very, very good quality batteries, and I can't say what state of charge they were in.
Right.
But then we had batteries that had been compromised being stored in there. There was nothing malicious that caused this event. It was either a lightning strike or the condition of the batteries and the way they were stored. It was not proper. Well, when we did the cleanup at our place here in town, the US EPA, which I'm going to tell you what, phenomenal agency to work with. I hands down tip my hat to them. They were a great agency to work with. This was a learning curve for them too.
I'm sure.
On where to take them, finding people to take them, and people that were going to do the right thing with them.
Well, and even more importantly, how do you ship damaged batteries?
Well,
Because that's a challenge, because you don't want those batteries to catch on fire in the trunk.
yeah. So it's funny you bring that up, because they were following the US DOT standard for shipping these batteries. And this event here has changed some of them shipping
Absolutely.
standards, because what they said was safe and proper, they have learned from this incident cleaning it up. It was good intentions, and we thought we knew, and we really didn't. So they've actually changed some shipping standards because of this incident. And you're exactly right. You know, this incident happened in June of 21, the end of June. The cleanup started the following April of 22. And so them batteries laid there for 10 months.
Right.
And they went in there 10 months later and started moving them. And some of them went back in the thermal runaway. But yeah, we learned a lot from this incident, learned a lot of working with both state and federal agencies. You know, if you think you're going to win it on yourself, you're not. You need to get
help.
You do. You have to call for help. And there's nothing wrong with with calling someone that's had it, like myself. I've had other chiefs call me that have had battery incidents, or if they have a battery factory coming into their town. And I tell them what we experienced and what we dealt with, because there's not a lot of fire chiefs that have been exposed to it. And I guess a guinea pig, I was exposed to 185,000 pounds of it. And you can be successful, but not like how we think we're fighting a fire in,
Right.
a building. It's a total different game. And I think batteries they encompass our lives.
They do. They're in everything.
They're in everything. And we'll look what we have here: cameras, phones, it's it's everywhere.
Yeah, and so many people are like, "Oh, we got to ban batteries, using them." But even if we did that today,
We'd go backwards if we did that.
that too. But even if we did, we've got billions of batteries in devices today that will reach end of life, and they need to go somewhere.
We really are not 100% prepared for that.